Hi, I'm Nicolene Peck, and a number of years ago I was asked by the BBC over in England to be on a program called The World's Strictest Parents. So yes, I actually was chosen as one of the world's strictest parents. And at the beginning of the program, we had to lay some foundational rules for the children. So today I've got my laptop here and I'm going to be doing a reaction video on house rules for kids. What we did when the youth came to stay at our house in the World's Strictest Parents episode, and what you can do to set good house rules for kids at your house. Okay, so we're gonna watch this clip together that happened back in 2009 when the BBC brought two troubled British teens to my home. Their names were Hannah and James, and I want you to know I just love them. I'm gonna have to do a video at some point where I talk about what has happened in their lives since the filming of that program and what's happened in our lives too. It really was a transformational experience. So today we're gonna be looking at a clip all about house rules. And this time where we sat down, my husband and I, and we talked about the rules in our home for our family. So we did foster care years ago, and we brought in troubled youth ages 12 to 18 into our home. And this was always day one. We talk about what are the skills that we need to learn in our family, what are the rules in the house, what can you expect. This is called pre-teaching. Specifically, I call it instructional pre-teaching. We're laying the foundation for what's going to come. Every family should do this. We don't often think of it when we're just raising our own children from the time that they're babies, but we need to give them the mercy to know the foundation of what we're doing in our family. We need to teach them these are the skills we're going to use in our home. This is how we're going to run things. This is how we're going to correct problems. If you go completely out of control, this is what we will do. So let's take a look now at Hannah and James' reaction to the Peck family house rules, which some people think might be a little bit controversial, probably, and why we had those particular rules and still have those rules to this day, and what you can do to make good house rules for your family. All right, let's take a look at this. The very beginning of the clip, you see our house. We still live in the same house, no need to leave. Our children are all leaving, and so it's just down to 3 of us at home now. It's been that many years. Okay, you'll see this, and then you see us walk into the kitchen and start to have a conversation about the house rules.
Before they fully welcome the teens into their home, Spencer and Nicolene want to establish the rules of the house.
So I made you each a little packet, and they have a lot of the rules of our home in them, and we're going to go over them with you, okay?
Things that we will and will not do. Number 1 is language. In our home, we do not swear, we do not gossip about other people.
Okay, I don't know if you saw that, but Hannah was like yawning. Okay, so number 1, I always made everybody a packet because, you know, whenever any foster children came to our house, I was like, here's your binder so that you can know everything you need to know for our home. It is a good idea to write things down. Why not have a list of all of the house rules at your house? You don't need that just for people who come to visit. You need it for the people who live there all the time. I love how we see Hannah yawning. They had flown all the way over from England. I'm sure they were jet lagging so bad. I don't know how late they stayed up or when they got in the night before to their hotel, but she is tired here and already having a hard time focusing on what is being said. But soon you'll see they perk up and start to focus, especially when they hear things they've never heard before when it comes to rules.
To be rude to other people. We do not consume alcoholic beverages or addictive substances, energy drinks, hard liquor, coffee, tea, caffeinated drinks, etc.
Coffee? You can't drink coffee?
We have no coffee here.
It's addictive.
So the other things, and these are rules that...
Okay, so there's a reaction to coffee right there. What? Coffee? You can't have coffee? So in our family, that's part of our family culture. It's something we decided when we very first got married that we weren't going to have coffee, any teas that would be caffeinated or be addictive in any way. We weren't going to have energy drinks. We were going to just take care of our bodies, get the sleep that we needed, get the food that we needed to make sure that we had the healthiest bodies possible. Festival, and they were surprised by this. And so we don't have a coffee maker at our house, and that's just not something that's part of our family way. Now, each family makes decisions. What you will eat, what you won't eat, what kinds of things you'll take into your body, the words that you'll say. We said, okay, well, we don't swear in our house. Now, this was a big one too, because both Hannah and James regularly said words that our family considered to be swear words. But you know what was really neat is over the course of their stay, they actually were so respectful about that. You don't see them have any qualms about it, even though in their culture, in their families, they could say all kinds of different words. In fact, by the end of the program, we actually see them saying to us, you know what, I don't want to say those words anymore. I see a reason for that. And people are not going to understand why I don't want to be having that type of explosive language anymore. So anyway, it's kind of neat to see that they just accepted that right straight out. And one of the reasons that they did was because we were calm when we were talking to them, and they respected the fact that we were laying things out. We weren't just going to drop things on them in a surprise. We were going to tell them everything up front. And that's what good parents do. They're deliberate in all of their training before they execute any discipline or before they carry on with any of their skill development or correcting of negative behaviors. They teach the children what's going to be coming and how they're going to handle it. So let's continue on here.
Rules that we cannot and will not bend on. Okay? Smoking.
Oh, but
That's just
that's a no-no for
that is just one thing that I can not go without. I'm sorry if I'm bending your rules, but it's also my
Now
rules
remember
as well, at the same
that
time.
these are all no answers.
No, it's not a no, because I need my nicotine.
I would say no, I cannot, no. I would not call that necessarily calm.
So we're going to have to work on calm a little bit, okay? And that's
so
fine.
Calm is what he showed. So.
Okay?
So in that clip, we're seeing a couple of things there. We're seeing me, which looks like I'm mimicking Hannah, but I'm showing her what she was doing, but I'm not doing it in a way where I'm making fun of her. I'm saying, no, that's not being calm. And that's what I'm telling her. And the reason why is because we already had a conversation before this bit where we're talking about no smoking. We had a conversation about calmness and about skills that we needed for success. Now, when we taught our 4 basic skills to Hannah and James, they were like, yeah, those make perfect sense. That sounds good to us. So the 4 basic skills were, number 1, following instructions, and then accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and then disagreeing appropriately. Now, we didn't get a ton of time to practice those skills. So then we went straight into our family standard, which is a document that we've created for our family that has all the things on it, like what we will do to our bodies, what we won't do, what we will say, what we won't say, what we will watch, what we won't watch, what we will wear, what we won't wear. And what they've done in this clip here is they've just brought in little bits of the moments that we know might create contention for these teens. So this program was designed to show what do you do when you bring teens who've been raised in really modern progressive families who don't give them a ton of no answers, who kind of let them walk all over them, to a family who has definite morals, they have definite standards about what's right and wrong, good and bad, true and false, and what happens when you bring them together. And then everyone expects to see a little bit of fireworks, some explosion. Now, our episode surprised people a bit on that because it was so calm. But the reason was this moment right here, when we laid the foundation and we said, okay, it's all about calmness. Because those 4 basic skills each have skill sets attached to them. Each one of them has the first 2 steps that are the exact same. They all have like 4, 5, 6, 7 steps. But the first 2 steps of each one of those 4 skills is to look at the person and have a calm face, voice, and body. So we spent a little bit of time talking about calmness when we were talking about these skills. And so when I'm saying, You're saying no, no, and you're not being calm. That's not a calm face, voice, and body. And she's like, well, I think it's calm. And then everybody else was like, no, it's not really calm. So we're going to need to work on calmness. So then we're realizing, okay, she's going to have to practice getting an awareness of what calmness really feels like for her and what it feels like when she's not calm. Now, I teach self-government. That's what I'm known for, my parenting stuff all over the world. And self-government means analyzing yourself, having an awareness of yourself, and that's what we're teaching her right here in this minute. So I don't get emotionally attached when a person is having an outburst like that. It isn't something I take personally. Okay, let's take a look here at this next bit.
Let's go into what we're going to wear. It says we will not wear clothing that shows our shoulders, stomachs, backs, or thighs. Clothes that are too tight or closely fitted are inappropriate. All underwear must be completely covered by outside clothing. Clothing considered to be sloppy, dirty, or contain any emblems or pictures which do not invite the Spirit of the Lord are inappropriate.
We haven't really come to change how we look, we've come to change our attitude. I don't see why changing our clothes, our dress sense, has anything to do with our attitude or how...
That is an amazing thing to bring up, Jeff. The way that you present yourself to the world shows the world what statement you're making. So if you're making a statement,
It does not matter. It doesn't matter if I wear a dress to my ankles. I'm still going to talk the way I'm going to talk. It's still going to come out, and I'm still going to be me. Just because I'm wearing a stupid, ugly dress doesn't mean I'm going to change.
I'm not changing any of my clothes. I'm not going for that rule.
Stop talking.
I'm wearing my clothes.
We're going to go through that, and these are no answers, so we're going to talk about these things.
I'm wearing my clothes, and now I'm...
Okay, so you hear me saying these are no answers. I'm reminding them of the skill that we already learned. So they learned how to accept a no answer. They even said, yep, that's a good skill. That's a good idea. So I'm saying these are no answers. So now let's talk about their behavior when it comes to dress code. It's okay for a family to have a dress code, just like it's okay for a school to have a dress code. And let's ask ourselves questions. Why is it that people have dress codes? Why is there dress codes at some places of work? Now, I know in recent years we've probably relaxed dress codes even at offices a little bit, but still there are certain businesses and industries that have certain uniforms, certain dress codes. Usually when people attend certain events like weddings, fancy things, there's a certain dress code. Why is that? It's because of respect. So in our family, we decided this is how we respect our morals, our beliefs, our values, is we dress according to them. There's also something I learned as a young person, and that was that when I dressed a certain way, I felt a certain way about myself. If I was revealing a little bit more of my body, I actually felt more sensual and more sexual, and I would behave in different ways with young people. And as I got older, I realized that, and I thought, you know what? I don't think that should be a focus when we are trying to make an impact for good in the world. We shouldn't be vainly trying to promote ourselves sexually to other people. Appearance is a really big deal to both Hannah and James. I mean, they were in their teen years. They're both 17 years old. This is a super common thing for them to be worried about their appearance, especially because all their friends and family are going to be seeing them on this program, and they want to look good, or what they think good looks like. And what we're trying to explain to them is, you know, you can look good without having to look like you are, you know, showing everything you've got, right? You don't have to show your underwear to look good. There are many ways you can look good. And I know I'm going to probably get lots of comments about this, and it's okay. You know, comment if you want to. It's fine. I probably won't get a chance to respond to everybody's comment about dress code and about coffee and everything else. I know these are probably controversial bits of the program, but every family does have the right to make a decision of what they will wear and how they will present themselves to the world. And we wanted our children to always have a high bar and to think of themselves as valuable from the inside. Like that who they were on the inside was way more important than who they were on the outside. And so we didn't put our emphasis on what they wore on the outside as much. And you know what's funny is that she says, if I wore a dress clear down to here, I would still talk the same. I would still be the same. Well, at the end of the program, we take her somewhere and we put her in a beautiful ball gown that goes all the way down to the floor. And she says something. You'll have to watch that if you see the whole program. She says something that completely contradicts that statement right there. She feels more beautiful than she's ever felt before, and she's completely covered up. And that's because she feels respectable, dignified. It's a completely different feeling to have about yourself. Do clothes impact how you feel about yourself? Absolutely. Otherwise, why would we have so much energy in our society focused on fashion? And why would we spend so much of our time and money finding things and trying things on and making things that we think look good on us if they didn't impact how we feel about ourselves and how we treat other people? They do. Our family doesn't like vanity and pride. And so we try to create clothing choices that can still help a person feel good about themselves, but not lead them to think somehow they are better than other people or put themselves in situations where they're giving a bad representation of who they really even are. Why should we all have to be a sex symbol to be valuable? We don't. Okay, let's take a look at the rest of this here.
Now I need to go for a cigarette because now I'm stressing.
As far as the rules that we have, they may seem extreme, but they are rules that we've implemented for our family, and anybody who would live in our home would be expected to follow these rules.
Okay, now we see Hannah saying that she is stressed out because she's getting a no answer about clothing. And she's like, I'm going to have a cigarette now because I am so stressed out about this. So we see that she allows things extrinsically to make a big difference to her, right? So if somebody says you can't do this, somebody gives her some sort of a rule, a no answer, then that makes an impact on how she feels. She takes it personally. So then she says, okay, well, I've got to fix how I'm feeling. So now I need a chemical change, something from the outside, so a smoke, in order to now calm me down or help me feel like I'm okay. So she's allowing extrinsic things to create problems and looking for solutions to those problems from extrinsic means as well, instead of being able to look inside and say, okay, this is a no answer. I can look at it, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay, or disagree appropriately about it, and then drop the subject, which are the steps to accepting a no answer. So we're not seeing her being able to do that skill yet. But by the end of the program, 8 days in, she can accept no answers really well. So she does make a big change there, but this is really interesting to see how she plays that out. And that's something that a lot of people do. They think what happens to them means that they have to react emotionally. And she definitely has that habit, and so does James. And then we hear my husband, Spencer, talking about, hey, listen, if anyone lives in our house, they're expected to live by our rules, and that's important. Parents need to make ground rules for their entire family. This is what their role is. They are the leaders. They are the ones who keep everybody going in the same direction. They unify the group. They're a unifying influence. And without structural elements like rules to hold the family together, then everyone runs a little wild. They mistreat each other. They make life uncomfortable and inconvenient for other people. So the parents really do need to lay this foundational work. We know they don't like it at first, but we also know that it's our home. And so we're going to go ahead and say these are the rules, and we're going to follow through with those rules. We are consistent, and they see that. And so hopefully you'll watch some more of these and you'll see how consistent we really are, what happened. I hope you like this. If you like this, give me a thumbs up, and leave me a comment. I'm anxious to see some of these comments, even though I may not be able to get to every single one of them. But definitely tell me what you think about house rules, Should people have house rules? What do you think? I know they're vital for our family. They've made a big difference with all the young people that have ever come to stay with us and for our own children who are now starting their families and having house rules of their own. If you want to learn more about our family standards, and the ways that we correct our children when things go wrong, then you can go to teachingselfgovernment.com. That place has books and lessons, and there's a free Calm Parenting Toolkit there for you. There are plenty of things that you can use there to help strengthen and support your family as you try to create more unity and happiness at your house.